Hi guys, welcome to creating a 3D digital model in Sketchup based off a floor plan or a plan view. How we're going to start is using our design that we've created in Illustrator, our plan view or a floor plan that meets the VCAA drawing conventions. I am going to copy my design minus the dimensions and projection lines, just copy it onto a new document. Just making sure it's only one artboard. That's the only issue I've had with the other design. Placing that, removing all the dimensions and projection lines because we don't need them. And I'm going to use this as a basic sort of guide or template to create the wall, to build the walls off. Export it as a JPEG, and I'll just override the underlying design there. Export, and just keeping the quality above 8 seems to work. It won't matter too much. And the resolution about 150, that's fine. Go OK. And now start working back in SketchUp. I'll minimize that for now and just open up a new document. Select template, and you can go really with any of these as long as it's in millimeters, because all our dimensioning we always do in millimeters, so you get the precision. We don't really know what feet and inches are. Start using SketchUp, and this is the basic interface of SketchUp. You have the blue line that runs, it gives us our height, so that's the x-axis. The red out to the right hand side here, that's the that's the x-axis. The z-axis running up, and then out to the distance there we can see the y-axis. To navigate around the screen, as it's a three-dimensional program and you'll get to learn that, you'll often be using the orbit tool. So just selecting the orbit tool, you'll be able to naturally orbit around, and you can see a little figurine moves around, rotates there as well. The other one you can use obviously zooming in. Otherwise I tend to use just a scroll wheel whilst using the orbit tool, because you're going to be orbiting around, zooming and panning around often. And the last one, the hand tool, is the pan. So shortcut on the keyboard is Command or Control, Shift, and then drag it so you can go naturally left and right, up and down. And that's all we'll look at there for now. If I zoom back out a little bit to give myself some distance, I'm then just going to draw how big I want the scene to be. So I can go off that point. I know the building needs to be 14,250, so it's 14.25 meters. And so down here where it says length, if I draw it out first of all, you can see down here it's going to change. If I just then type in 14,250, it will snap to that length, so we know that's where we want the width of the building to be. If I go back in the other direction and over this way, there's it snapping to green, so we know we're going on that correct axis. If we go up here, we don't really know what axis it's going to be going in. It could be showing the green along with a little bit of height as well. So you've got to make sure you're running on those correct axes. And we know the depth needs to be 10,000. And snap that. And I'll just draw a line back to a starting point, and you can see it's going to snap there because we know it needs to be that. If I enclose it, it's then going to fill it in. In this case, I don't really want to do that for now because I want to place the design within this space and so it doesn't take over it. And I'll just be getting rid of these lines very shortly anyway. I'll go File, and then I'll go Import. Just trying to process. There we are. You can find our design there, and I'll just import that. You can import a whole lot of different sort of files, but for doing this, I find using the JPEG works quite well. And then I'm just going to place that roughly in one of the corners where the building is. Hopefully it snaps to it quite well. And then I can use this icon here, the scale, and it will show the 9 points. So at the moment it's just it doesn't have any height to it. If it's got height, it will then show 16 points or more. And we can scroll that out. Why isn't that staying? If you hold Alt, it will keep proportions. And it's going to be really important at the start to set it up correctly, because it's going to make Sketchup is a one-to-one program. So when I start bringing in walls and especially furniture, it's going to be, whoops. Therefore, the furniture will be correct. You can see when I point on an area, it references that area. So if I point there, it knows I want to zoom in on that area. And so that's pretty good there. Whoop, and pretty good over there. So I would make it perfect, but for a quick video, I'm not going to worry too much about it. And I don't really need to move it back. I just want to get the proportions right. Now I can get rid of these lines. So there's our guide. Move around it, and now I'm going to start drawing the walls. So I'll start in this corner, zoom in, and I'll draw the very outside of the wall. Zoom out and then zoom back in. Making sure it's perfect. So I'm just using the pen tool for now. I'll use other shape tools in a minute. Probably their actual designs off there. Make it so it's using the actual axes rather than the correct areas on the drawing. Because if it's skewed off axis, it won't fill in a shape very well at all. And then when I close it in, it will fill in. So it's no longer a line, it's then a shape, and that's when you know we're firing. You know it's going to be shaped, you know it's all on the same axis. SketchUp doesn't deal with trying to enclose surfaces if they're on skewed axes. It doesn't work very well in that way, so it doesn't do product design very well at all. Use another program. Fusion 360 works pretty well for that. What I'm going to do is just delete the interior so then I can see my design. The next thing I'm going to do, actually, I won't do that. I'll just undo that. What I'm going to do is make the walls. So the exterior walls. So if I go to this icon here, the offset tool, and I'll hover over the center point and click and drag it out, or you can drag it in. Once again, down here we can see it's saying 200. I'm going to type in 300, press enter, and it will snap to it. We know exterior walls from our designs need to be 300, so they're 30 mil thick. Naturally a wall is going to be 30 mil thick, and interior walls are going to be 100 mil thick. Get rid of that interior again so I can see my design, and then I'll quickly zoom around and do the interior walls. I'll probably show you one and then I'll continue on with the others. And what I like to use is the shape tool. So if you hold down this icon, you can get all these other tools, but for now we'll just use the rectangle tool. Place it there, and then keep it out. You can use the guide. Zoom in over this location. And now, so it's 4, 8, 10, let's say, comma, and then 100, because we know interior walls need to be 100 mil thick. And then I'll delete that skin once again, and I'll draw the design coming out in this way for the wall. so 2925, comma 100. Interior walls are always 10 centimeters thick for very conventions. And I'll get rid of that. And I'll continue to do these exterior walls, and we'll pop back and then we'll start dealing with pulling these walls up. Okay, now we're going to pull the walls up to the correct height, so 2.4 meters is the standard height. I have just included just the little sections of where I want the windows to be and where I want the doors to be around the building. Your design may change, because you might find that whilst you're designing it, especially in this mode, you're going to change things. So I tend to do it early on. I suggest doing it early on, as it's really hard to work out. If you don't have those indications, it's hard to work out where the actual thickness of the door is going to be, or windows, but your design may change. I'll fill that back in. And so what I'm going to use is the push-pull tool. Hover over a certain area, and you'll see it will do that selection, and then pull that up to 2.4 meters, so 2400, and snap that. And you can even drag it up and then reference this height as I've done there, and it will snap to it. And as simple as that. Now what we're going to go through and do is start to add the windows using the 3D warehouse. So that from my other design is all this furniture. Obviously I haven't designed it, I've just imported from somebody who has designed it, and they can be the different manufacturers really do a lot of it. So the glaziers will do theirs, the door designers will put theirs in. You can get a lot of stuff, you know, even IKEA and other different home decor stores and different areas. So I've got the Alessi kettle in here somewhere. Where is it? There we go. So you can get a lot of different designs, and it probably takes most of the time is just searching through it. You know, it's like Google. There's some really good things on there and some really poor things, and it's just managing which one you want. So 3D warehouse. It will load. So be descriptors, so fold glass window, and I'll go through my design. I know the name of it, just can't find it at the moment. With things that you're going to be using repetitively, or your design, you want a cohesive interior design. So now you're sort of going into an interior design mode, making sure if you're doing a fit out, you know, go with the style. So it's going to be Scandinavian interior, make it all look at that Scandinavian design. So if it's like IKEA or matte black, Magnum 602, it was open, I'm sure it's that one, and go yes. Think about also the scale of it as well. And so what we want to do is place it halfway along. So that's pretty good. The scale of it's not too bad. We'll scale it up so it's a bit larger. Remembering if you hold Alt, it's going to keep those. Whoops, why didn't I do it? Proportions, and there we have it. So now all I need to do is close in above the window. So I'll move my camera to where I want it to be, and I'll just draw from the midpoint out, from the midpoint back in the other direction. Draw. There we go. And now what I should be able to do is just pull that all the way across. And it will meet up there. Now it looks like it's a bit of an issue there somewhere. it's all fine. Just done that. And so there we have it. There's our first window. Just need to fill in that section there, but I won't worry about that for now. And we'll go pop in a door. So here, I'll pop in the first internal door. Once again, I like just to be able to see the thickness of the wall, interior wall. And if I go back in my other design, I'm going to use this door quite a bit. So I'm going to use it for 2 bedrooms, I'm going to use it somewhere else as well. And if you've got another design, you can always go to select it, 3D Warehouse, View Details, and it will open up where it's come from. So you can see it's called Open Door, who it's made by, and you can download it straight in. Go back here, 3D Warehouse. So having that consistency of the interior design is really important, to have all the doors the same or very similar, have all the glazing exactly the same, otherwise it's going to look silly. And there it is there. Okay, yes, having an open door is always nice because then it doesn't break up the spaces. In this case, because I'm going to place it in multiple areas, I'll just place an instant there and I'll make a copy of it and place another one. Now, obviously the orientation is not right. Come on. I want it roughly on the right orientation or axis. There we go. So rotating it is really important to get it on the axis that you want to rotate it on. So we want to rotate it from above, select the rotate, and work out what axis it's going to be on. So let's see how I can obviously chop and change. So we want the blue axis. Select once again, and then rotate it. You're not going to rotate it that way because you always walk into a room. You want to have it like that, and it should snap to the 90-degree increments. And then use the move tool to relocate it on one side of the wall correctly. Where we want to go, about there somewhere. And then I'll rotate once again. So it's to move things into place, you need to sort of rotate different views. And then I will move again slightly this way. So that's roughly about there. This looks quite good. So we do have the door jamb wrapped all the way around it, and I don't have to scale it too much. Take it out of its original proportion. And scale it once again, and we can see the midpoint is there. Whoops. Where can I go? That one there will work. And I'll just push it back into the wall a little bit. There we are, pretty happy with that. Rotate around, whoops. Pan up. Draw a line along the top of it. That all looks good. And once again, pull that into this wall. That should snap, it has. And there we've got our room starting to make up. So now I just need to bring in the beds, bring in the bedside tables, so on and so forth. What I've found when I've designed the other one, this layout of the bed is, actually it is correct. The windows, doors, so I'll put in a whole lot of other things. The issue I had with is looking for bathrooms. My original bathroom, I wanted this to be all glass, but I found it difficult. So what I've done is often you find the showers, they're already sort of separate compartments, so it's the whole shower included. So I've included one of them, and then I'll just alter my plan view. And fine little details, so bedside tables are important, the lighting, the wardrobes, the vanity, being able to find that, and the kitchen was also very difficult as well. So because the kitchen, if you download a kitchen, it often comes as the whole package rather than the individual things. Otherwise you've got to make your own benches and everything. And so there you can see it sort of becomes a package, which makes it a little bit difficult, especially when I want to put a window through here. I've also done on the other design just the exterior. So I've included here where the grass goes, sorry, the paving. So to do arcs, I tend to find a 2-point arc works the best. Click where you want it to go to, and then you click again the actual arc of it, making sure it is on this correct orientation. Otherwise, as it's done, that's not right. So you can often make those silly little mistakes. So just making sure you use the correct axis. And in this case, it might have been best to do a rectangle first of all, and then cut the arcs into the rectangle. The rest of the design, so I've downloaded obviously the vehicle, all the garden, and you can see the different spaces there. It's good to make sure you do the garden just to give it a sense of context, as it looks like a building just in the middle of nowhere. Once you finish, you can also put the roof on, but obviously don't do that till the very end. And the only issue that you might face is finding small areas really hard to get into, because you start to collapsing into walls, and that's when it runs. You sort of get lost here, like it's in gameplay. The best way to go through and do it is go camera, down to position camera, and I want to position it right there. And so it's like you're in the scene. And then you can use camera look around's already activated, and you can quickly pivot around to look around and take in any specific scenes. Then the last thing we're going to go over is rendering it. So rendering the different textures on the walls. So once you have it all finished, I just need to pop that obviously window in that bay. I'll go back to my other design, and it's going to be starting to include different materials. And so that's going to be using the paint bucket, and at the moment I'm also casting a shadow, so that is under view shadows. You can turn that and see how it's going to affect over the seasons. So you can look at shading that needs to include, as well as the days, and change the intensity there. It also gives a nice realistic impression of it. So having something dramatic in the shadows there. Under materials, going under bricks and cladding, and then applying your different colours to the skins. And so you have obviously asphalt and carpets, colours, glass and mirror, landscaping, so on and so forth. That's all sort of makes sense there. You are limited to what you've got, okay? But you can create your own different textures. So if I go what I've found previously is this lovely herringbone, which you might want to apply to, if it opens, apply to the flooring. And so what you need to find is, oops, go to Chrome. And Googling seamless, texture you want. Make sure you spell seamless correctly. Images, tools, size, and medium to large tends to work the best. And there's our texture there. Full view, copy or save it, and then as I've done previously, where's my scene? This one. Get rid of that for now. And so go plus, and what texture we want. Whoops. Plus a texture. Find our texture. Go OK. And then this is going to depend on the scale. So over roughly a meter, that's how big the texture is going to be. So it just becomes a tile as such and just repeats that tile. And you can always go through and alter that. And you can change around the different color schemes of it as well. But we don't want that. I'll just close that so I can ruin it. Herringbone, open. Okay. And there, we've got that there. So we can apply that to it. And you can always go through and alter it. So if the tiling's too big or too small, you can rescale it to make it so it's proportionate. Back in my design, and so I've done that with, I believe, the flooring from memory. Make sure you do the materials right at the end, because you can see it takes a while to render it and the file size becomes a bit bigger. But I've put in a whole lot, you know, different rugs and different carpets and lighting and chairs and couches, and which are all pretty easy artworks. Hang that on the wall. The only other thing I want to quickly go over is I've also made these different scenes, which is quite cool. So to make it, it's pretty easy. Just go to animation, and then I'll add a scene, and so you position where you want it to be, and then it will add it. So if you continually draw it, so you've got scene number 19 there, and you can move it, and you can add it, you can update it, and you can delete it, so on and so forth. Under animation, you can then also go through the settings. So scene transition takes 1.5 seconds, and then it delays there at that scene for 2 seconds. So I'll start off my first scene, and I will play it. And so it'll take a while for it to render the different scenes. And it's really good just to make it in terms of how a person would interact with it. So start from the front and then navigate around to the front door and then into the different living spaces and bedrooms. And so I'll cut through the doors and cut through the walls, which you can go through and alter. As it's done there, you might want to fix that one up so it doesn't cut through 2 walls. And I'll quickly stop that. Another thing that works really well is if you want to section cut and space, if you need to do that for any reason. Whoops. Section plane. And so it will show a big version of your section plane. And move. Here we go. And so you can cut through different scenes and pause it there, and then rotate around the different spaces to do sectional cuts of walls, just to show interior design, especially in really tight spaces. Turn off sectional plane, so sectional cuts. You can turn off the axes and the guides, shadows, which we had on before. Computer's struggling. And the edge styles, often turning off the edges works quite well. Make it look a little bit more realistic. And well as changing the different perspective I tend to work with, just the best looking view. To get a planometric, I find just going to isometric, and then even sitting a set square on your screen, you can then pivot it up to get that 45 degree angle view. Another thing you can include is geolocation. So just add a location, which will go onto Google. You find your location, and then it will put the surrounding sort of landscape as a plan view, satellite looking view display, as you can see there. The last thing I want to go over just is an extension. This is a Twlight Rendering. This is a rendering program which works quite well, because you can see the quality of it. It's okay, but it's not brilliant. So Twilight's, it's free. It's no restrictions in terms of watermarks or size that you can download, or number of times you can download an image. And you can change the different size of the image, the quality of it. It does take a long time if you have that obviously up on high, and it's really just a photo rendering plugin. And so there you go, you've got a rendered version that looks a bit more realistic with the shadowing, and you can make it super high detail. Lots of tutorials on YouTube that you can go through and use, and you can save it as JPEGs. So a lot of the previous students, a lot of professionals might use this, especially for sort of initial presentations to pitch off to clients. And that's the SketchUp tutorial. Thanks.